So I've had several people ask me about the differences between SketchUp Pro, which is the one I use basically every day, and the browser version, the online version, whatever you want to call it. I would think it would be the browser version. And so there are some differences, but I think some of the troubles that people were having are based on drawing standards and not the tool itself. So as I get into this, I'll try to explain why that is true. So what's funny about this is Barret, my son Barret, sent me this picture this morning. He's getting married, and already I'm having to get used to the toolbar here, because I'm used to having my toolbar across the top. Barret and Cortney, my son Barret, and his fiance are getting married, I think in September. Okay, and he sent me this picture this morning saying Cortney wanted this base for the wedding cake, and it looks kind of fun. It's rustic looking. If you look at the features of it, you can see the gaps. They haven't made an effort. It's rustic, in other words. They haven't made an effort to hide the joints or make them tight, or hide the end grain here. This is the end grain of the wood. So there's several ways you can do this. I'm trying to rotate it. It's a two-dimensional object. That's funny. So there's several ways you could do this, and I'm going to present it to her two different ways. And I thought I would just take the opportunity to use the browser version of SketchUp to do it with. So here's your toolbar on the left. It's got the eraser, the paint bucket, the line, the pencil. This is arcs, and this is a tool I'm used to. Yeah, you click on the ones that have a little arrow will pop out, and you can draw a rectangle, a circle, whatever. Tetrahedron, so you can figure out the secrets of the universe. Push-pull tool. Now I'm going to go over this some because people are having trouble with the push-pull tool, so stay tuned. This is move. I recognize that. This is the tape measure tool, but you can use it to set up construction lines. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and just set 3.5. Again, here's down here's the orbit tool, which you'll use a lot just to kind of get yourself oriented in the drawing. But what I was going to say is a lot of the problems that people have in SketchUp are just their drawing standards. In other words, making sure that lines are coplanar, and that's why it's good to set up these construction lines. It seems, your first response is, well, let's just go get a rectangle, and this is a good way to do it. If you're using the rectangle tool, you can start off just drawing a rectangle, but then stop and don't click anything, but just type in the measurements. Like, I want this board to be 3.5 inches, comma, at 24 inches. And in SketchUp, it will assume the units. Well, you set it up, I'm assuming this is set up for inches. In Europe, that may be set up for, the metric system, which is an inferior system, but we won't go into that right now. But just kidding. I'm an old timer, so I like feet and inches. I drew this board, right? Everybody just left because I made them mad about the metric system. But the other way to do this, and a good drawing standard, is to take and lay out like I'm going to make this 24 inches. And again, you just, on these tools, you just start the tool and just stop, and you can kind of drag it out here to what your dimension you want and kind of mess with it until it gets there. But the quickest way is just to type it in. Like if I wanted it to be 16 inches, I would just type 16 and bam, there it is. I'm going to delete that one though. But then the rectangle tool is still the best way to do this, because then you would just use your layout. Make sure you got a little X there, so you're on the intersection, and then make sure you're on that intersection, and then you've got two good rectangles. What some people will try to do is start off with the pencil, and they'll just stick the pencil out here in space somewhere and start drawing, lines, right? And SketchUp is intuitive, but you can get non-coplanar lines easy that way. I've done it a million times. So if you're having problems in SketchUp, most likely it's because your lines are not on the same plane. So I'm going to delete all this other junk that we don't need for right now, and I'm going to get busy on this and show you how I would do this. So I just was going to build myself a board here, and so what I would do is draw it in 2 dimensions first. That's 3.5 inches by 24 inches. It's basically a 1x4 that is 24 inches long. 1x4s are 3.5 inches wide. And then I'm going to grab the push-pull tool right here, and I'm going to let it, when you hover over it, you'll see it highlights it. And I'm just going to start to pull that up, but I'm going to still enter the dimension. I haven't done anything. All I did was pull it up. I haven't clicked or anything. Then I'm just going to type 3/4. And there we go. We have ourselves a 1x4. Now, on this particular thing, this project, I'm going to suggest that we miter the corners on these boards. So how you would do that is take your construction, your tape measure tool, but you also use it for construction lines, and pull back 3/4 of an inch. Then I'm going to draw myself a line across there, and then I'm just going to come from here, and there you see I basically just drew myself a little chamfer on there. Now I'm going to take the push-pull tool again, and I'm going to put it over here on the edge and select that, and I'm just going to push it. Now this is where people are having problems, or they've told me they're having problems. See this little, if I go to here, it won't disappear. But if I push it all the way to the end and let it say on face, it'll just zap that whole thing and get rid of it. So let's do that again. And people are telling me that in the browser version, the free version, that this is not working, and so I wanted to test it myself. You just have to be, you see, you can go past it if you're not on the face, and you just have to hover there. It should sit on the edge. Make sure it says on face, and just hover there a second, then let go. Then it will, you don't let off your mouse button until you get that on face, and that will that'll work. So now what we're going to do is, I don't know how long this needs to be. She said the cake was 12 inches. So we probably ought to make it like 14 inches. That'll give us an, I'm going to orbit this around a little bit so I can see it better. So what I'm going to do is take, and I should have put the miter on top or on the bottom, it would have been easier. But I'm going to take my construction tool, and I'm going to follow that bottom line, and I'm going to go 14 inches. And I'll type that in. And then to make it easy, I could use the compass tool and come back 45 degrees, but for now I'm just going to draw myself a line straight up, which is the blue axis. You need to get kind of used to the axis colors, because when you're working in 3D, it gets confusing sometimes. You'll think you're going straight up and you'll be going off at an angle. So when you're drawing lines, blue would be the vertical axis, sort of up and down, and then red would be, what is that? That would be east, if you're thinking about it, as far as the drawing is concerned. East, and then east and west, and then north and south is green. I don't know if you can see that. I'll draw it out here. It's green. And so you'll run into the troubles that most people run into is that you'll be drawing a line here, and see, I can force that off I can force it off 90 degrees. SketchUp wants to help you. It's very intuitive. You see, I'm staying on the proper plane, the proper axis there. So now I'm going to come back 3/4, and I'm just pulling that back. I'm not going to try to make it go 3/4. I'm going to type it in to be accurate. Okay, and if you look down in the bottom right hand corner, you can see the numbers I'm typing in. So now here's a situation where I've got the construction line kind of lined up, and that's that illusion you get sometimes when you're working in 3 dimensions. That line looks like it's lined up with that bottom corner, but it's not. Look, you see, and that's the kind of trouble you can get yourself into if you're not paying attention. So now I'm gonna take my push-pull tool. I'm gonna get rid of this piece by going down on the face. It's gone. I'm gonna grab this little piece. I'm gonna push it all the way to the end, and you see right it says offset limit 3.5. Just don't accept that. You know, go down, get another look, and push it again until it says on face, and it'll disappear. It'll delete it. Okay, you just got to be patient. Don't be so anxious all the time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all this. I'm going to grab my selection tool. I'm going to grab it, and I'm just going to right mouse click on it and make it a group. And the reason I'm doing this is just to make it easier to now when I grab it and I'm moving it around, it's just all one piece and I won't screw it up. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. If I hadn't, let's go in and explode that group. If I had, say I just quickly did that and I thought I grabbed everything and now I'm going to move it. See, it's weird. So the best thing to do is to make sure, just get all of it and make a group. So one of the problems I'm dealing with is with my Open Broadcaster software. I literally just recorded this whole thing, and sometimes I will get these black screens. I don't know if it's going to show up in the video or not, but after that point, after that black screen, it will record my mouse movements and my audio, but it's froze at one point. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. You see here, this is one of the videos that I recorded, and it's not showing. That's one of them. This is the last one that should be showing the finished cake, but it's still showing that one board. And you can see my mouse is moving around, and I'm talking, and it's not recording the screen. So sorry about all that. This is actually what I had done. Make sure it's recording now. It looks like it's working. Very frustrating. So anyway, this has nothing to do with SketchUp. It is the software that I use to record the screen and the audio. Very frustrating. But what I had done was I made 2 of these. Let me just move the cakes back. I actually went online, and I'll show you how I did that. And just move them back. I went on 3D Warehouse, and I just typed in, I just searched wedding cake, and of course it comes back up to the last search that you did, and you know, there were lots of cakes to choose from. I thought this one was kind of funny, and so I downloaded it and brought it into the drawing. The other thing I had done, and this is frustrating because I did all this stuff, was I went and found this picture of pine boards on Pinterest and edited it, or I brought it in. You can create textures out of images in SketchUp, okay? And so I'll just demonstrate that right quick. I'm really frustrated because I did all this once and now I'm having to do it again. And I guess I need to deconstruct this thing because I built it and I'm very mad. And so I'll need to show you how I did this anyway. So I'll bring these out to here. This was the version that I did where I was chamfering or mitering all the edges on that inside there edge, so she would have an option. Take the face grain off of it. We wouldn't have this look that they have where the edges of the boards are showing. The end grain is going to take stain darker. It's not going to be that pretty. It'll be like in the photograph over here, where the edges of these boards are stained. That end grain takes it darker than the face grain does. So I was trying to give it a more refined look this way by mitering all the edges of these base boards, the boards that make up the base, and we would drop these down in. They would be mitered too, like that. And I'm going to make a video making this thing just for the fun of it. But then I created this texture, and I'll select it, and you can just use the paint bucket tool and apply it, just to kind of give her, Courtney, his fiance, an idea of what it looks like. One thing I'm going to do is on the sides, because this could get kind of wieldy, would that be the term? I'm going to put a hand, either a hand hole or a finger hole or something here, and let's just see how that might work. I'm going to come down here and put myself a construction line. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this, I'm going to take that, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. What did I do, make that a component? Okay, now I had them all selected. I'm going to turn that back to regular view, or take the texture off of it so we can see. Let me go to the center, and let's see, what do you need? About an inch to stick your hand in. Let's go up here and see what that looks like. We're going to go a half inch up and a half inch down, and then how many inches do you need? 3 inches. I'm going to go to the center. I'm going to come back 1.5 inches. I'm just going to draw myself this rectangle on here first. Yeah, that worked. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a little radius. Maybe it needs to be more like 3/8. Yeah, let's do 3/8. It needs to look more natural. Well, yeah, 3/8. That makes more sense. See how that looks. That looks more rounded. Less, yeah. So what we'll do is we'll come up now. We'll come up 3/8 this way, and 3/8 over this way. Turn this around so we can get a better look, and we'll draw us a circle here, here. Let's go ahead and delete. What that's doing is, since that's, when I delete it, it's deleting the part that's not connected to these other lines. And once you kind of get used to how SketchUp works, it goes, you start to be able to use it really fast, because it's very intuitive. And so I think all that looks good. I like that. Probably could have gone with a 1/2 inch radius, and we might do that, but let's just push this through. Now here's a good use of your push-pull tool. I'm going to try to get rid of that, but see, I'm going to see where it says on face? I'm not just pushing it in, I'm waiting till it says on face, and then I'm letting off. And that made my hole for me. And now I can come out here and delete these construction lines. But see, that would give, I don't know how you're going to grab this thing, and the cake could get kind of heavy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one. and then I'm going to fix the texture on this one. Let's see, I need to copy that texture, yeah, and bring it around, and then I'm going to copy this. Am I still recording? Dang it! Yeah, so frustrating when that open broadcaster doesn't work well. And all I did was copy this other one over there. I grabbed the move tool and I held down the control key. Now I'm going to use the scale button, and I'm going to grab these middle nodes and go back -1 down in the right hand corner. You can see it, and I can type that in. I'm just lazy. I like doing it until it works, and that basically mirrored that. So now I got a little handhold on both sides. And if you learn how to make these textures, which is very simple, all I did was go into GIMP and I created a try to zoom in a little bit, 100%. I just created a board. I actually brought that image in. Let's see, let me open it and I'll show you. Well, shoot, there it is. Yeah, I took this image and I just cropped out the grain part of it like that, crop to selection. See, I made myself a little texture, and then I went into SketchUp, and you can import that. Go over here to import, and then you make sure down here you select texture, and then when you import it, make sure you have a face, and you can just draw yourself a rectangle here. I'll just do it right quick. I think I missed this part in the earlier video. Just draw yourself a rectangle on there, and then you can import texture, go down to, I got way too many photographs in here. Go down to your board, here it is. This is the one I cropped, and you'll even be able to scale it. See, all I did there was scale it to the width of it, and then it just applied that texture. See, then now that's a new texture. If you go into your textures, you'll see that you created a new texture, and you can take your paint bucket and take your eyedropper tool and select it, and now you've got a texture you can apply. I can apply it to the cake if I want to. I'm not going to do that though. So anyway, just trying to show you some tricks. People have asked me how I got my studs in some of my SketchUp videos to look like real studs, and that's how. I take an image of a real stud and I apply that to the texture of the object in SketchUp. Anyway, didn't want to bore you with all that, but still just trying to help as I go along, and trying to create my thumbnail image now. So let me try to get this perfectly lined up. Thanks, guys.